know, it's so cool.
That was 0, please.
Clothes to get it's called stitching, and they like it's actually fun.
That is exciting.
So I actually signed up to talk about it.
All right, I think we're gonna get started. The sooner we start, the sooner you guys get to go home and eat dinner, right? I'm sure that's kind of what we're standing in the way of. So, let's start by just knowing who's in the room and probably knowing who you're about to listen to. Just to do some introductions, we're gonna share just briefly our name, your grade level, how long you've been in education. Okay? So I'm Rosemary Baker. I work here at AUSL. I'm the director of coaching, and I've been in education for 15 years. I was like, what's today? No, I'm just kidding. What's the year?
Hi, my name is Putty Andrews, and I am an AUSL turnaround coach, and I have been in education for 13 years.
My name is Jordan Marks. I'm a 5th grade math and science teacher, and this is my 5th year in education in some capacity.
Janetta Hines, kindergarten, 3rd year altogether, education.
David Velez, ESP, a month and a half.
Welcome.
I'm Hannah Daramo. I'm kindergarten and 3rd year in education, 1st year teaching.
Suzanne Metzer.
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half. I've been here 1st grade, and altogether 5 years, 3 years ago.
Gabriel Pius.
Come here, fingers.
I teach 2nd grade bilingual ed, and it's my 2nd year as a teacher.
Jessica McGinnis, 2nd grade. This will be my 4th year in teaching.
Creola Thomas, special ed, and about 5 years often
Shatori Jessup. I'm a seeker. This is my 2nd year.
Elizabeth Martinez, Seeker for preschool. Been in education since 2011. Lauren Ahern, preschool teacher, and it's my 2nd year teacher.
Gabriela Lamino, kinder 1st grade, bilingual teacher, it's my 2nd year.
Jackie Del Rosso, 17 years with Edward. K first assistant.
Well, hey, twin. I'm good. How are you? Awesome. Oh, this is my table. Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, here's your name and everything.
I'll squeeze in.
This one's in back.
7th grade, language arts, and 18 years.
8 up, winner. Sorry.
No, you might have.
Yeah. Kimberly Cody, K-8, 22 years.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I feel bad. I've been so long.
Sorry, guys.
I'm Bridget Galoon, I'm 6th grade special ed, and I'm also 22.
Oh, yeah, you're in special ed.
That was my first
22.
She's 22 years old.
What's your secret? Okay, yes.
Latonya Reynolds, 7-8 science. This is my 3rd year.
Alright. And last but not least,
Therese Jackson, and this is my 3rd year.
She teaches 2nd.
And I teach 2nd grade.
You
Thank
go,
you.
Jackson.
Yeah. Jessup.
Shatori.
alright, well this is going to be a fun crowd. I can see it already. Alright, well here we go. Well, let's get started.
All right, so we are going to do a quick activator. If you could turn to your elbow partner, and you have 1 minute to teach your partner everything you know about guided reading, including the components, the structure, etc. And then we'll switch, and partner 2 will pick up where you left me. Stop or add anything. Go ahead and go. She's 1 minute.
level, it's at that around
You know about guys
Not too much.
We might have reading checks and we're going to read this stuff.
How are you? Good.
I know, right?
You guys are on like 3-5?
I know.
Wait.
That has to be 5.
My truck is, sorry, it's like a hotel here.
That's 1 minute, so now switch. Partners, you pick up wherever you from.
What are we talking about? Guided reading is like
Either level or,
I've never done it the other way, but like some people will do it.
like you have a group that has practice, but they're all at different levels, so if you just like still yeah, so it's like even the kids who have like depending on their level, like the high kids, like whatever the text, and then I tell them what they're reading, and they read the text, and then I don't want to you don't want to get back and talk about or like doing it in this yeah, or predicting or inferring with that small group strategy. Yeah. Yeah. Like guided reading.
thank you. We get a couple of share outs. We'll start at the massive table. Anybody over here want to share what they know about guided? Oh, we're volunteering people. So, do you want to share? Thank you.
Just
volunteered you.
Well, you read and then the student will read after you, kind of. You guide them through the reading process.
Nice, thank you. Others? Yes.
I see it as more of taking a group that are reading at the same independent level and actually going up a couple notches to a guided reading level, right? Something that's not easy, that they have to struggle, and taking a well-rounded literacy approach. So you're doing comprehension, you're doing phonemic awareness, you're doing writing, you're kind of approaching it all, maybe not at the same time, but you're using that book to help them access those things.
So you're teaching at an instructional level in a small group with kids who read at that same instructional level.
Right, but not an independent level.
All kids are at the same level.
Yes, but they're not, it's not, like if you have an A, you want to move up at least one, right?
Right, so you're saying independent level and instructional level
Right.
are two different things.
Right.
And you're teaching towards that
Yes.
place where they need to be.
Yes.
Got it, okay. Yes.
I wanted to add real quick, it's also, I found it to be a really beneficial time to set kids up with their goals. So it's like, since we're all B readers, our goal is that, we'll be able to read this C or D book together, and we're gonna like figure out how to read these words we don't know. So it's just like, kind of a pep talk, kind of build up that enthusiasm, and then see the fruits of your labor.
Nice. Other ideas? 3-5.
3-5. What I learned was, last year I covered a little bit of guided reading, and basically what she had told me that I asked her what guided reading was basically taking a small group based on their reading level, reading the story with them or having them follow along, and also discussing what's the setting of the story and the character of the story, stuff like that.
The other thing that we talked about was just that it looks different depending on different students' levels. So, like your lower kids, you guide through the process more, whereas my high kids, I leave them for a period of time to read this text on their own, and then we come back and talk about it later, but they do that reading on their own.
Anybody at 6-8?
We said the same thing, well, we also said that we sometimes read it as a class. the readers in class gathering through the material, having mandatory stuff, comprehension, reread it with a new word attack, the writing.
It's kind of like what everybody was saying, the different
Yeah.
components that you're teaching.
Right.
as you're reading the reading. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is we're going through what guided reading is, especially describing the expectations for using a specific program that admin wants us attacking here at school, right? So we're going to identify the intended purpose, the components and lesson structures of the LLI program, and we're going to plan a lesson. As you can see, there's materials on your table using LLI. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I don't have to.
We started with our activator. We're going to move right into what is LLI and what the expectations are for using it. What the program looks like, we're going to watch a couple videos, we'll test drive it, and then we'll take some questions at the end. As always, we think through these PDs and keep our norms in mind, as in we're always prioritizing our students. We're here to do the work. We want to make sure that you are pushing your own learning, so if you have questions, please feel free to interrupt us and ask and get some clarification, and that we're good to each other, and we're here and we're sharing airtime, okay?
So we had you activate a little bit on guided reading.
So we have the document.
Great, okay, so Mr. Bell just shared with you the electronic note-taking document. So if you have your electronic device with you, you can pull up that document so that you can take notes on it, or just read it to guide what we're doing today. But we talked first about guided reading because if you know a little bit about guided reading, you'll know and understand LLI a little bit better. So I almost gave it away. My first question is, does anybody know what LLI stands for?
Go ahead, Mr. Velez.
All that is level.
Level, that's correct. Level is the first word.
Literacy.
Literacy. Intervention, right, I was trying to stand in front of the boxes. Yes. Level literacy intervention, and I want to point out the word intervention. So this is a different program than what you would normally do in guided reading. This is an intervention program, and so although we activated your knowledge, your prior knowledge of guided reading, we want you to hold that in your head as you're thinking about what this program, level literacy intervention, looks like, because it's different and it's meant to be different. Okay, so what we're gonna do is talk a little bit about what is LLI and who is it for, so you understand. And before the end of today, you'll understand how LLI will live here. I know some of you are like, so I'm already thinking about my plans. What group am I doing this for? All of those decisions will get clear by the end of today. So we're gonna first front load the program. We're gonna talk about what the expectations are and how you will be able to get there here. Okay. Do you have a question?
I was just wondering how this note taker works, but I'm assuming you're going to show us.
Yes, we'll talk about that. This first part is just to listen about what is LLI and who is it for. Okay?
We developed level literacy intervention to help children in those critical first years of schooling. During this time, we expect them to move from knowing very little about print to having an effective processing system for reading text with many lines of print. Most children develop a reading system with good classroom instruction. Others fall behind. LLI lessons are designed to help children who need extensive support to achieve grade level expectations, including English language learners and special needs students.
Math and Rose loves it too.
We named our program Level Literacy Intervention, or LLI, because of its characteristics. The Fountas and Pinnell text gradient, levels A through N, is used to determine the precise starting points for each child.
Can you find and? Put your finger under and.
Each book is designed to provide just enough support and challenge for the reader, so the reader can learn on the text and make small steps towards grade level goals. Literacy in our program refers to both reading and writing because the program is designed to help children develop in both areas. Over the span of 2 lessons, each child reads several books, writes about reading, and receives explicit instruction in phonics and word study.
What might this say?
Fake.
Well, let's see if all the sounds are there.
Fade.
Fade. Yeah. Good. Good for you.
In the writing segment of the lesson, the teacher helps the children develop critical writing strategies that can be applied in the classroom. And throughout the lesson, children expand their oral language and vocabulary through interactions and the teacher's explicit moves.
So when we read Yes, I Will, you're going to pop right out of your box.
This supplemental intervention program is designed to intervene early and build children's self-esteem through successful experiences with written language.
Won't you come out? Yes, I will. Come on. Let's do it one more time.
The LLI program is designed for the lowest achieving children in the grade. You'll want to begin by determining the lowest achievers in kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, or any other grade levels for which you are going to use the intervention program. To identify the lowest achieving children, you'll want to use an assessment system that will help you determine children's precise reading levels. We recommend that you use the Fountas and Pinnell benchmark assessment system because the levels will correlate directly with the levels in the program. However, you may use any other assessment system that helps you determine those reading levels. Once you determine the reading levels, you'll want to group the children so that you can work with them efficiently. We recommend working with a group of 3 children, though you may make another decision. We have found that working with a group of 3 is highly effective because you can observe the children carefully and accelerate their progress. The LLI program includes 3 systems: the orange system, the green system, and the blue system.
That's not true, there's more systems.
The orange system is designed for levels A through C, recommended for kindergarten students or students at other grade levels who need support at those particular text levels.
Good. It's your turn again.
The green system includes levels A through J and is recommended for grade 1 students or again, students at other grade levels who need those levels of support. And finally, the blue system includes levels C through N and is recommended for grade 2 or can be used with students at higher grade levels who need support at those particular text levels.
We have been developing and implementing LLI for many years. For the last 4 years, we have piloted the program with well over 600 teachers in many different school districts in many different parts of the United States, big cities, rural areas, and small cities.
Say it with me.
Not. We have sought feedback from teachers on every part of the LLI lesson and listened carefully to their advice and their suggestions as they try this out day after day in schools in many different parts of the country. As a result of this ongoing research, we have been able to refine the LLI lessons and test the framework. Our results have been remarkable. Many children have made a great deal of progress along these reading levels. And teachers have found their students not only make progress in terms of reading level, grow in their knowledge of phonics and the way words work, but one of the most frequent comments from teachers is these children love to read. They love to come to LLI lessons.
Try it again.
The LLI book collection consists of 300 books that make up the orange, the green, and the blue systems. And these are wonderful books. Children love them. We have enjoyed, for the last 2 years, working very closely with children's authors and illustrators. We have considered every book very carefully many times. We have wonderful characters in these books. We have about 40% nonfiction with exciting, interesting topics that children love. And we have some wonderful series books, both nonfiction and fiction, so that children can meet the same topics or the same great characters again and again.
It is
crack? Let's see what happens. We can see a bear go over the river. What happens to that bear? Do you think he fell in?
Yeah.
Look at that. Where did he go?
In the water.
Yeah, he went in the river. So this page is going to say, we can see the bear go in the river. Oh my goodness.
It's a good note to end on. So what I'd like you to do now is turn to your same elbow partner that you were talking to about guided reading and talk about what stood out to you about LLI, both differences and kind of what you might be excited about in terms of what the program is for and the parts that you saw. Okay, so what's the difference between this and guided reading and what might you be excited about based on what you just saw? Go.
They like ask what the name is, and they like ask what to show our mom that we need
Right, but still though, like, I know.
It's just like when it's This is a little bit more, at least I found it's much easier. You just literally open the book and then it also has a lot more like phonics. All of the instructions are very accessible to teachers.
All right, so let's come back together. Talk to me about the differences you saw between LLI and guided reading.
Oh, they were reading with them the whole time.
They're reading with them the whole time,
Yeah,
okay?
every time they read the book, they were both.
Okay. What's on?
Guided reading is like for all readers, and since like LLI is for lower reading level, lower functioning.
So this is, yes and no. This is the green kit, so this is one of the very early kits. When this video was made, they didn't have the red, gold, or purple kits, which are for the higher grades.
Oh, okay.
So you guys aren't being left out here. This kit is, this is just when they made the first 3 kits.
I
So you
think-
actually do have kits that are for your level kits.
I mean like lower functioning in the class.
Gotcha. Okay. So kids who need a lot more support, you're saying?
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
One of the concerns given the video was just around like how would someone who's 12 years old handle a lesson like this? Can you talk a little bit about just in terms of student maturity level age-wise, what would that look like for a gold or purple kit? Like is it different?
We'll get into it a little bit more. So you
Perfect.
saw one of the very beginning kits because we couldn't grab the red kit DVD in time. So what we just showed you was the before all of the build out, because LLI has seen so much success in the last 10 years, I guess, that it's been around. That they started to build it out for higher grades. So your level, we'll show you the difference of a red kit, is a 45-minute lesson with much more talking. They're not doing the hand-over-hand writing and things like that. But it's a good question. So we'll show you that.
So overall, it's like a 45-minute lesson.
Not for the lower grades. So the lower grades is 30 minutes. So the suggested is 30, the upper grades is 45 because of the components, but what we're going to talk to you about today is how to make both lessons 20 minutes based on your schedules. We know that 30 minutes is sometimes hard to get with one group because you have 2 other groups to see. So we're going to talk about an adjusted schedule for that. Okay? What else did you notice about guided reading?
Well, I just wanted to ask, what happens to the kids? This is only 3.
So good question. So if this program was to be implemented in the way that it was designed, you would have an actual teacher who was an interventionist pulling kits. So this is meant to be in addition to the guided reading you're doing in your class. And what we're going to talk about here today is how we're using it as part of your guided reading groups in your class. So in the same way that you're doing groups, small group instruction already, this will be part of the program materials you use to do your small groups. Does that make sense?
I noticed that there was a lot of, it seemed like there was a lot of word work and a lot of very explicit and, I don't know, when I do guided reading, or when I envision guided reading, there's a lot more reading and there's less writing. And I'm excited to maybe change that balance a little bit in my guided readings.
Absolutely, so there's a ton more, that there's a lot more structure to this kind of lesson, because again, it's intervention, and there's a lot more supports that are very specific to word work and phonics.
Exactly.
Good. Anything else people noticed about it, or kind of maybe are excited about part of that? I mean, I know Mr. Pies, you just shared that as well.
I shared with my people that I did LLI with my RTI group last year, and like the kids in the video, they were so excited to read, and I think that as a teacher, it's a lot of fun to teach something when you know kids are going to be excited about it.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the points that we're going to continue to visit as we talk to you about LLI today is that this program is designed, like someone said, for kids who are much below their grade level, right? So it's supposed to be designed for kids who are 1 to 2 years below grade level. Okay, so now think of the kid that you're thinking about right now when I just said that, 1 to 2 years below grade level. Talk to me about how his or her self-esteem level is about when you call them to read. Shut down, really low, right? Not really excited to read, has to go to the bathroom all of a sudden, doesn't want to come sit with you to read, correct? One of the things that LLI is designed around is to build kids' self-esteem and competency around reading. So the structures that they put into the program are exactly to combat what kids come to the table with when they know they're, almost all of our kids who are 1 to 2 years behind, no, they're 1 to 2 years behind. So there's a certain level of discomfort that you have to get over, and so some of the things that are exciting about LLI is that the different ways that they're designed is to combat that self-esteem issue so that you can get them excited to come to the table because they have seen success in rereading books that are maybe 1 to 2 levels below their independent level. So all of a sudden, you put a book in front of me and it's not something scary, I can actually read it. But the program is designed for that specific purpose. So they are excited because they do get a sense of, oh, I can read, and oh, this support that you're giving me actually gives me the tools to do what you want me to do. There's a lot of, it's a lot of kind of, hand over hand is the wrong word, but there's a lot of hand holding that you do in the program so that they can feel like I'm getting more success and traction in reading. All the way from the lower grade kids to the 6th to 8th kids. There's a lot of that. So I want you to think about as we're talking about this program, because I want you to point out to me where those things are, where you see some of that way that you're building successful experiences for the kids through this program. This isn't different, but I noticed some of you gasped a little bit when they said, we suggest 3 people in your LLI. Right? So obviously, that's not necessarily what you can do. So we suggest 3 to 6, 6 at max. Because again, like the program is designed so that you can have a lot of face time and a lot of interaction with the students. The frequency, the way that it's designed is meant to be daily, but again, with your schedules, it's going to be as best as you can and as regular as you can. You already pointed this out with the systematic phonics support that you saw, that Mr. Paez pointed out. And this again is in addition to the regular guided reading as it is designed. But for some of you, and Mr. Abell is here to kind of help with those expectations, it will be part of your guided reading groups. So it won't be necessarily something you do in addition to the groups. Okay? What other questions do you have about what you saw so far?
Now, it says 30 minutes for really primary, right? Is there a way, like especially if we're doing rotations with learning and group, is there a way to break down a little bit and have like a...
We're going to talk about an adjusted schedule for you guys, that you guys can decide. We'll suggest it, but you guys decide as a staff how you're going to use that. Okay. All right, so this next thing, kind of, we already started to answer this, but we'll get into this a little bit more. This program, and Mr. Abello, you jump in here, but I think this is what you were saying. So this program is meant to be part of your guided reading groups, is that correct?
Correct.
And it's meant to be for students who are at or below the 35th percentile.
Possibly, yeah,
Possibly.
but around that 1 to 2 years below grade level, based on our BAS levels that we've collected already.
Got it. So we're going to talk today about adjusting the program and lesson delivery so that you can teach it in a reasonable time with the rest of your groups. So that you can use these materials to actually teach your guided reading groups for 20 to 25 minutes for upper grades. Okay, but that could change based on what you guys decide. And we're going to do our best to implement those with all the components so that kids get the things that they need from this. But we'll revisit this. Just wanted you to get a sense of where we're headed with this towards the end. So as you're thinking about planning already, because I know you are, you can start to fit it in that bucket. This is guided reading. Anything else?
Yeah, can I just clarify the last comment? So, as you guys know, most of the literacy teachers, if you have not seen this, we have the initial BAS levels from this fall. That will be the document that we will use to determine which students or which groups this would apply to. Now, unfortunately, but fortunately, we have a high majority of our students who do fall below the, a year behind grade level categories. So this would be all the students in the red based on that tracker that we have seen. And if you have not seen that, that will all be shared with you. But that will be determining who's eligible or who this should really target, which is, again, unfortunately, a majority of our students.
Any questions about that so far? I think we're going to continue to answer them as we go. But let's get into, oh, sorry.
I'm just gonna say, good for kids who are more than 2 years behind grade level than 2.
Absolutely.
Like, this is what we should be using especially for those things.
Absolutely.
All right, let's dive into what the program looks like, the structure. So, Mr. Abello sent to you guys the note-taking template. That's what we're going to use right now. You want to pull that up? LLI lessons are broken into odd and even lessons. So you'll see on the template you have sections for odd and a section for even. I'm going to talk about the odd lessons first. Odd lessons look like this. You reread for about 5 minutes. It's usually an independent level book that is one or more levels below. They're independent. Just kidding, they're instructional level. Let me say that again. The reread is 5 minutes. It's one or more levels below their instructional level. Word work is about 5 minutes. It's a progressive focus on phonics and morphology. In later grades, it's vocabulary development. Can you type into it? You can? Okay.
You have to download it.
Download it.
Or open it with eyes.
You're all right. You got it? You're typing into
Are you good? Can I move on?
Yep, please move on.
The new book, it's the longest piece, it's 15 minutes. With the new book, it's an introduction, your rereading of the instructional level book. So 15 minutes, you're introducing and reading the instructional level book. And then the last 5 minutes is the word. That's about 5 minutes, and again, it's phonics and morphology. So we're going to take some time, and we're going to look at an odd lesson, right?
What was the last one you said?
5 minutes, phonics. Yep.
I have a question about like the differences between the kits, especially at the primary level. Like so, because they overlap a lot. So like, what would be the difference between a level like B lesson in the green compared to level B lesson in the orange? None.
None.
Okay, so like, how would you
Just
like
different texts,
differentiate?
right? So the only difference is that it's different text.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. Okay.
It's just the orange one only goes to C. Yeah,
right?
So it's the smallest one.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to take a look at the pieces of the lesson. I'm not going to show you the entire thing, but just so you get a sense of the lesson and what the pieces are, and then I'm going to move on to the next piece, okay? So this is first the reread.
Good morning, children. Good morning. It will start today by reading some of those books that we already know how to read, and make it sound interesting.
want you to do is read this story called Look. Remember the story about the giraffe that's hiding? And I want you to read it in a whisper voice without your finger.
Chris has prompted the children to make their readings sound interesting. Even at this very easy level, it is important for them to be aware that their voices convey meaning. Notice that on this very easy book, children do not need to point as they read.
Look at my eyes. Look at my nose. Look at my ears. Look at me. Look at my nose. Look at my ears.
So what does the giraffe say on the last page? And how does he say it? Did you see that excited one? No, let's hear it. Let's hear what he said.
Look at me.
Let's hear it. That sounded great.
Okay, what did you notice about that reread? I know 6 to 8, we're gonna get to you guys, don't worry. And you're not gonna do that with your 6 to 8.
I thought it was really strange she was asking them not to point to the words, where I'm usually always pointing to the word, but I understand if she's trying to do it for fluency, for the, pronunciation and stuff, I can see why she would do that.
When kids are figuring out that what words are, you want them to point to the words. As they're starting to read with more fluency, like you said, you want them to go right from the page to their head. So doing the differentiation between the words is the pre-step to being able to just read without. What else did you notice about? It's a small thing. What did she do at the end there? So they're rereading a book. They've already read this book at least twice. This is another chance that they're getting to read this book to start out.
She made sure they recognize the exclamation point.
She made a point about the print, right? She made a point about making sure that they understood that there was a different point, there was a different punctuation mark at the end. And then what did she do?
Have them read it correctly, follow that punctuation.
And they each got a chance, right? So they each got a chance to do that. So this is the one part I wanted you to notice, that the kids are each getting a chance. This is why they want the small group, so that each kid does get a chance to participate and feels like, oh, I even though it was small, I got to read something out loud. And for a lot of kids who aren't very good at reading out loud is a big deal. So again, there's that small thing that actually is feeding into a bigger thing that makes this program successful. Okay? Again, the other part is they get to read a book they've already read before, and there is a feeling that I'm reading this without having to stop it every other word. That is another place that they're building that successful view. Okay, ready for phonics word work?
This is a picture of a rake. Rake. If you were going to write that word rake, what letter would you write first?
R.
Okay. Say it again. Say it slowly.
Rake.
A. What do you think would come next?
A.
And how about the next term? Do you think so? Let's say it again. Say it with me. Rake. Oh, I'm going to show you that you're right. Could be C, but in this word it's a K. And there's the word that says, say it right, rake.
In the second part of the lesson, Chris is working with the children to connect words that have the same phonogram pattern. This activity will help children notice larger word parts and to use a known word to figure out a new word.
So, here's a word that's like that. See how it's the same here? This one says rake. This one says tank. I'll do another one.
Coloring.
Are we good with this?
Let's do another one. What do you think? What do you think? Let's see.
Okay. What did you notice about what she did there? She's using words they know to give them new words, right? Word families. All of those materials are on the disc. Like, you don't have to make any of the materials that you see in these lessons.
You don't.
No, these are all printable from the disc. I mean, yeah, you have to print. Yes.
Now, since you're doing a short A kind of word pattern, are those connected to a text that the kids were reading? Or long A? Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
it's systematic, so it will be in some books, so they're reading several books over the 2 lessons, it will be connected to some book that you're reading, so that you can pull it out. Or it's built on something else, so it's the phonics program kind of runs and spirals throughout. Okay, here's the biggest part, like Claudine said, this is the biggest part of the odd lesson. This is introducing the new book, and this new book is at instructional level.
A new story for each day. And I bet you know something about it. Have you heard about the 3 pigs before?
Yeah.
Have you? What do you know about the 3 pigs?
The ginormous wolf trying to eat
There's a ginormous wolf trying to eat them. What do you know? What do you know about them?
They have houses.
As she introduces the new book, in the 3rd part of the lesson, Chris asks children to think about what they already know. This prior knowledge is an important resource in making predictions and understanding the story structure.
Heard the story of 3 pigs. And what do you know about that?
One of them get eaten.
They do get eaten? Oh no. Well, sometimes there are different versions of the story. We're going to read this story about the 3 pigs today. Turn to page 2 and 3. Pages 2 and 3. What are you noticing in that picture?
Going to his house.
Mm-hmm.
It's made of hay, so he can blow it down.
And you know what they call it straw in this thing. That's right. Well, we're not going to read it yet. We're going to talk about it just a little bit, okay? We're going to read it in a minute. You know what the wolf said went to the pig on this page? He said, what did he say? Yeah. What do you think the pig's going to let it in? See what happens when the pig's in the bush. Yes. The wolf says on this page, then I will blow your house down. 2 letters. Do you think you see at the beginning of then? TH starts. Oh, the word you know. What word do you know starts like that? Oh. There it is. So that word is then. Okay, now
Get a good sense of it?
6 and 7.
Anything to notice?
Are those questions scripted in? Or
Absolutely. So some of you have the lesson book on your desk. So all of the questions that they're asking, or you have copies, all of the questions that she's asking and each page she's directing them to is all scripted in the lesson. That should be exciting, right? So your lesson plan comes directly from whatever you highlight and make notes on from the lesson plan book. Okay? We're ready to move on, so we'd like to read this. See, you're even excited about this. Okay, are you ready for the next part? This is the final part of the odd lesson. So the difference between even and odd is going to become clear, but the odd is just literally an odd number. So that's how you know the difference when you're pulling them out. The odd numbered lessons and the even numbered lessons. The last part is the word work.
This is a word that you've read before. This word said run. This says run. But you know what, Dante, I can change that word to ran by changing the middle letter. This is a word I think you've read before. This word says did. Is it?
It's like an I from the A spelled bad.
Did you already know that?
Yeah.
Well, I thought I was going to teach you something new today. So this word now says
Dad.
dad. Say it slowly so you can hear all the sounds. Dad. Okay.
In the 4th and final part of the lesson, Chris is using very simple examples to help children realize how they can begin with a known word and then change it to make a new word. These connections will help children learn new words more easily. They will add them to their word bag collections.
If the new word is then, good. I'm going to give you those 3 words. that you just learned. You read
These
them to
words are
yourself.
also printable from the
Those 3 words to yourself. Read these 3 words to yourself, Natasha.
Okay, any questions about the word work there? No? Yes, oh, this is 41. I think so. I think it's first. So 40, well, I actually don't know what kids those are, but it's the green kid. So, do we have questions? We're going to move on to show you what the even lesson looks like, but do you have questions about the structure of the odd? So there's 2 chunks of word work. There's a reread in the beginning, and then there's the new book. The meat of the first lesson, the odd lesson, is the new book. That's the majority of the work that you'll do with it. Okay? So let's go into the even lesson.
All right, back in your note tracker, in the even lessons, for 5 minutes, you reread and have a running record. It's an instructional level text and a running record on the text to gather formative data on their progress and gather teaching points. You go back to word work for 5 minutes, and they're building on the phonics from the odd days lesson. So I didn't want to go odd even, right? So you're building on the odd days lesson. Yes.
I'm sorry, you said 5 minutes build on the odd days.
It's in that little box right below.
15 minutes for writing, and that's the bulk of what you're doing. So you're doing 15 minutes of writing, and it's writing about reading. And then you'll end with 5 minutes at independent level book, and so you're building on their fluency and confidence. That's 5 minutes. We're going to spend some time watching those components, and then we'll talk about the adjusted time schedule, because this is looking at like a 30 to 45 minute lesson.
How are you today? Good, good. I'm going to start by reading this book that you've already read before. Wait till I tell you what I want you to do. I want you 2 boys to read it without your fingers in a very whispery voice. And then when you're done, you could read this one. But I'm going to listen to Natasha read, so your voice can be a little bit louder, but yours needs to be very whispered, okay? Okay. You're going to read next to me. In the first part of the lesson, rereading books, the children are reading independently while the teacher takes a reading record on one child. This close observation of reading behavior will help to guide her teaching. Chris will not intervene except to tell a word when needed.
Then I will throw your house down, said the wolf. And he did. The little pig ran.
Did you want to finish it? Sorry.
Any questions? Yes.
Maybe I missed it, but how often should the reading records be administered?
Even on every even lesson.
But it's a different book for every.
No, so that's the difference about this program. So normally when you take a running record, it usually is on a book that they haven't read, correct? This program, you do it on a book that they have read. So that book is the book from the odd lesson the day before.
Right, but then the next lesson that you're gonna do introduces a different book and then the running record.
Yeah. Yep. So you get data on your kids depending on how often you meet with them. You would get data at least on one kid every week about where they are with the program and where they are on the level.
So you don't necessarily have to, like, on your even numbered days that you're doing the lesson, you don't necessarily have to be like doing running records and every single student in that.
No, because actually they give you, again, you can print out the running record form and it has a comprehension conversation attached to it. Unless Yeah, no, it goes all the way down to A. So there's a comprehension question that a conversation you're supposed to have with the child, and you can't do that with all kids before your time is up in the group. So it's usually you can only do one kid at a time.
Okay.
Any other questions about that? Good? Good. Remember, these are the lower grade lessons too.
Maybe yesterday we were talking about words like silent, medium, right. Let's read those.
I'm not going to show you a ton of this. Just notice that she's revisiting what she did yesterday.
During this second part of the lesson, the teacher reviews the phonogram patterns worked with yesterday. The teacher's goal is not to have children memorize all of these patterns. She's trying to help them notice patterns and use them to solve words.
We're going to bite now. Yes, we are going to do right. And listen.
Here's the bulk of the lesson.
We're going to take this writing quiz today. And on the first page, you're going to write a story about some of the things in that story about the three little pigs.
In the third part of the lesson, the children have the opportunity to write about their reading. There are 3 different kinds of writing in the lessons. In this lesson, the children use independent writing.
The wolf went through the chimney. So he went.
So
he ran away. He went down the chimney. What else happened? And he blowed it, and he fell. And he flied. He did. When he blew up the houses down, did he fly back? Yeah. No, I didn't notice that. So you're going to write a little story about what you read today in the 3 books. You have some good ideas in your head.
The children had been using their writing books for some time to write about their reading. In the process, they have extended understanding and also learned more about letters, sounds, and words.
What goes at the beginning of your sentences? The very first letter. You can try and remember to write.
Today, children are composing their own sentences about the 3 little pigs.
Uppercase. And then are you going to remember your lower cases and then a space. I want spaces between your words. Okay. What are you going to start to write? Oh, thinking about what you're writing before you start. You know what you're going to write? He blew it. You blew? And then he could write something different. What's in your head? The 3 pigs didn't get eaten.
Okay, what did you notice about that?
He looked up and see
He looked, what is in
Oh,
my?
they all had to do something different.
Say again?
They had to do something different.
They each had to do something different. She asked them to tell her what they were writing before. What did you notice about what they were writing with? Sharpies. Why do you think they're writing with Sharpies? They can't erase it, that's correct. So there's another reason for it. So the writing books, you notice, have no lines either. The point for the design of that with Fontes and Pinnell is that their writing is supposed to mimic what a book looks like. So so the difference here in the writing in LLI than some of the writing you might be doing now, which is some of the creative writing, inventive spelling writing, you would correct the writing in this book because it's meant to be standard spelling so that they could read it back as if they're getting another chance to read a book. Does that make sense? So it's a Sharpie because it's bold, it's standard writing because that's what a book is, and there's clear spaces between the words so it looks like a book when they go back up over all of their writing and they could read it as a book, so it's another chance.
And then do you go back and correct that writing like
Right away.
after school or like that day with
Right,
them in front of you?
right there in front of you,
Okay.
so you're noticing that you're gonna need some extra material, so Mr. Abella, there's gonna need to be some like Ziploc bags for their word bags. There's also we also use labels, white labels, so that you could put the correction tape over it. So if they wrote 2 and it's OT, you could put the correction tape over it and they could write it back over. And it's still white, it still looks like a book, and it still has that bold red. Oh, yeah, Sharpies.
And probably the more of the writing books.
Right. Yeah, you could do blank papers if you don't have all of the writing books, but you could do blank sheets.
Someone writing this down? No, I'm kidding, I got it.
Good. Again, everything that she was teaching and talking about are in the lesson plan books, okay? All right, you're noticing how long this lesson is. There's a new book.
A new little story for you that I think you're gonna like. It's right up here. And it's called Snap. I think that must be.
It's almost like a snapping turtle.
Oh, have you heard of snapping turtles?
Yeah, they can snap real fast.
This little turtle.
I saw one.
We do a little talk about the story first before you read it, okay?
The book Snap is easier than children's instructional level. In even-numbered lessons, they have the opportunity to independently process a novel text with only a brief introduction.
And 3. And what do you think she can say?
Grass.
Turn to page 10 and 11. Tell me what she can see now.
She can see a duck. That's page 16 and those snaps.
Oh, and what do you think's happening on that last
He got
page?
slapped. He snapped something.
Well, what does that snap?
Like he got slapped in the face.
Oh, I don't think so.
Like he snapped. Like he ate something.
I think it's the sound. I think it's the sound of his mouth going like this. Snap. Or did he eat at the end of the story? Or she? I think it's a little girl, but I'm not sure. Let's really see what little turtle can.
All right. Any questions about that part? What did she say the new book is? At what level? Below their instructional level. 1 to 2 levels below their instructional level.
Oh, that's a good question.
What's that?
What if 1 to 2 levels below the instructional level is like this?
With the A ones, so
AA.
that's why the orange level is a little bit different. The orange level starts off with actually shared reading and read alouds before they get into the structures of this lesson. So if your kids are rereaders, then you want to go to the orange kid. If it's an A, if I'm in an A level, they just do an A book. Any other questions about that?
That no matter what grade level, 8th grade, they have to read it.
No. With 8th grade, you have more room because they should be reading at higher levels and you could go back. Like a kid in kindergarten who can't go beyond before an A. Okay, good.
Should we talk through the general components?
I am so sorry.
Oh,
That was really loud. I'm sorry. I was because
What a distraction.
I apologize.
We talked through general components. We want to give you some time to look over the abbreviated schedule that's on the lesson planning template of how you guys can adjust in the note-taking template, how you can adjust your time. There's a lesson structure for orange, blue, and green, and then there's a lesson structure for the red. That could be adjusted to gold and purple too. Take a couple minutes with an elbow partner. What do you think about it? Is it manageable? Looking at the times and the components that we decided to pull out that could fit into these 20-minute slots. We'll give you about a minute to talk with an elbow partner about how that would look in real world.
You guys have a little bit different.
Do you guys have the breakdown?
Oh, I guess you're probably
Is yours different? So if you go down to the.
In school as well, okay.
So.
These are supposed to be still a high chunk of time.
We've actually split each lesson into 2 parts. So in a school where there's actual intervention, she could get this in one day and this in another day. You're going to see 4 days. Or 4 times you know. I think we're used to
Yeah, and then you don't want to set for that.
So if you look down, you can see how those and this is a suggestion that was found in when an odd lesson,
Depending on how Mr.
first,
Bell.
that first lesson, we're gonna discuss the text and we're gonna do works, right? There, that's, okay. Very first lesson. So if you look through,
Yeah, I think I mean,
yeah,
I mean, 20 minutes is still like a chunk of time to dedicate to
like this is your all of this stuff. So it's not like everything except choose from the lesson. Do the word study and then I sound this. That's all I'm
Do you guys need another minute to talk through, or another minute? Okay.
The next day, odd part 2, I'm just doing 25 minutes. Okay? In the evening, so again, you're kind of doing everything but the writing. I think for my oh no, you're actually just doing the writing.
Okay, this right here, the reread for purpose, this is in here, right, whatever that is, whether we're back on the floor, what happens.
Right, so there's several things that you could choose from to do. You're not going to do them all. So there's several things to choose from to do in the and then they'll share. So the suggestion is 10 minutes to do this. So then you move into the shared. Hands up, mouth are off.
All right, so let's just quickly share out, is this manageable, reasonable, the time slots that we're given? How do you guys see this playing out in your classroom? Thoughts?
Is this only for like after school or is it for your classroom?
Classroom.
Oh, okay. I was lost. Thank you for clearing it up.
Anytime.
Yes.
I mean, we had just talked, like 20 minutes is still a big chunk of time, and I'm sure primary, even, I have third graders, and I'm sure for primary, it's like, how can you getting everyone to focus for 20 minutes can be a challenge, but that it's something that needs to be prioritized.
Are you talking about the teacher coordinator?
Yeah. And just finding, like, carving out 20 minutes to, I mean, technically it's supposed to be like every day, which obviously isn't gonna happen either, but, you know. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, why don't I address that really quickly? So here are the kind of our expectations around LLI. So first of all, for those of you guys who don't know, this has been a really heavy investment from the school over the past couple of years, right? We have, just from an investment standpoint, we have about $50,000 of LLI materials in the school, right? So we have a lot of resources around LLI and we have the materials, right? From my experience, so this is something that we've used over the last couple of years at different AUSL schools. This is something that's probably used in the majority of AUSL schools, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's a very, very helpful, scripted. I mean, I don't have to share it because you guys have learned about it, right? So the big thing is we want to figure out opportunities where this is going to be really useful for our students. Now, given again that about 80 to 85% of our students are currently reading below grade level, right? This is a curriculum that's going to apply to most. Ideally, we're finding times within our small group times already in literacy to do this, right? That is one time during the school day where this is going to be able to be done, right? On top of that, we do have additional resources in the school. We have a couple of tutors, right? We have a couple of teaching assistants who are going to be able to start doing this. We're going to get really creative with utilizing our other education, our other ESPs or our subs when they're not covering the classroom. They're going to start pulling groups as well. So we're gonna get really creative about when we're doing this. While we don't have any full-time interventionists, we have a lot of people who are gonna be trained in this, and we're gonna have a lot of people who are gonna be able to pull groups, right? That's why you see Mr. Marks here, that's why you see Mr. Velez here, that's why you see Ms. Jessup here, right? This is something that we want everybody to be able to do, so when we have the capacity to do it, we're doing it, right? No wasted time. So eventually, over time, we want all the ESPs to be able to do this, right? So when there is time flexible in the schedule, that they're able to do that. The other big time where we're going to utilize LLI is when? After school, right? This is why we prioritize this. This is why we wanted to make sure that this was a training that everybody received. So after school PD, when that kicks off in January, that's going to apply to most grade levels, right? And we want to make sure that everybody's comfortable executing this type of intervention, right? It's scripted, it's easy to use. Really the only planning that it requires is the planning around organization of groups, which is essentially done, right? And figuring out which lessons we're going to do, right? That's another really big opportunity, which is really going to hit, hopefully, 40 to 50% of our students on a bi-weekly basis, right? So whether it is in small group, we're not all there, we're going to get there, right? Whether it is one group a day for 20 minutes, fantastic, right? Whether it is someone polling during the school day, Velez polling a group of K-1 students during the school day, great. Whether it's Ms. Baladeso polling groups in her classroom, great. Whether it is, whatever times we can do it during the day, fantastic. But the other big opportunity outside of that is going to be after school. So we're going to have ample opportunities to really utilize this. And so while, right now, Ms. Wool brought up a good point. The goal is to be able to execute a 20-minute small group in the classroom, right? That's our goal, right? A lot of us are there, a lot of us are working towards that, but that is a goal that we have in all classrooms. If we're not quite there, then we'll work towards it. But outside of that, we're going to have other opportunities through ESP support and director support. Any questions on that? My man. Cool, thank you guys.
Any other thoughts before we dive into the materials? All right, so within the material kit, you get your boxes. What will be inside of them is the lesson spirals. This is where you're pulling out the lessons, the odd and even lessons. The book sets, which are in these folders. There are about 4 books in each, and they stay in school. So the book sets stay in school because you keep using them with other groups. There is a CD, printables, right? So it has the printable activities that you had seen her using, the cutouts and stuff. The student writing books. As Rose talked about, it comes with you want to have the Sharpie and what is that? The labels or the correction tape.
Can I jump in on that? Yes. Real quick. We will order those books. If we don't have those books, does that mean we can't write? No. Okay, just want to make sure we're good at it. Thank you.
We also have, that Mrs. Rose has got, the take-home books. So you want to have the kids take the black and white books home and build their own library at home with the take-home books, right? Not the ones with the pretty pictures that are in color, say at school. The black and white ones go home and they build up their library at home. Yes, Mr.
No, go ahead
Okay.
and finish. Yeah.
With the expectation that they're reading them with their families, right? So this is something that they can continue doing while at home.
Awesome. So to that extent, that is something that we can do. A lot of families during the PAC meeting mentioned the use for books at home. I'm more than okay with giving those black and white books to go home, right? I'm also okay with the expectation that they bring them back if that's something we want to do. I'm also more than okay replenishing those annually, right? So if we do give those away and for some reason they don't come back, or if we give them away with the intention of them keeping them, that is more than okay. We can replenish those. The color books, those need to stay in the school in the kits. Cool? Awesome.
These are it, right? The bags? Right. I don't want to show this. But these are the bags to take the books home.
Those disappear very quickly, as you can imagine.
Yeah. So baggies work just as well. The gallon bags are just as good to take the books home, but they're really nice.
Those are good for in class.
Right? Like, really nice. But
Let's just norm on that right now. Don't send those home.
Imagine the things that they could come back with.
Huh?
I was just saying, imagine what could come back with the bag.
You have to have
Oh. There are also like the magnetic tiles that you saw on the video that she was working with in the whiteboards, right? And those are really great for the phonics and word work. I think those come in the kits, right?
The what?
The magnetic tiles.
No.
Those are awesome though to have in
No,
your
but
classroom.
as far as primary, we did get, the LPD kits had some magnetic word families and letters and stuff.
There you go.
As long as far as primary.
It'd be good to hunt those things down in the school before investing on, because there could be some of those things floating around that would help with the phonics and word, right? Any questions about the materials?
The prompting guide. The little symbol. Here it is. There's also a prompting guide that looks like this. It's a little stand that's supposed to sit kind of next to you. And when you open it up, on the inside it gives you all of the things in the, so although the lesson is scripted for you, there is a point where you have to interact with the child and understand what the child needs without the script. Okay? So, in order to help you do, I know, I'm sorry. In order to help you do that, this prompting guide gives you several things that you might look for as the student is reading and see if they have a deficit in. A lot of students in the beginning skip words or miss endings and things like that. This gives you a prompt in order to kind of get at that with your kids. So this is a nice way to kind of prep yourself for the lesson and see, okay, so what am I looking at with these kids and what might I prompt for? And there's a prompting guide for 6 to 8. There's actually 2, I think, for you guys, because there's a writing prompting and a reading prompting guide. But this one is for the lower grades, and it's in every kit. But there's only 1 per kit, so you have to share these along the way.
Does it come with a little pocket of the word?
Yeah. Sorry, Mr. Bella, this list is getting pretty long.
Yeah.
So no pockets, yeah.
Real quick, keep in mind, I mean, 2 things. I'll start with point number 1, which is the more important point. We could still utilize this if there are not some of the resources here currently, right? So I want to make sure that we're good with that. This is still something that can and should be used. Number 2, if there are resources that we feel like are going to be incredibly impactful in terms of our execution of LLI, those are things that we will get, okay? If you email me those, I will generate a list of all the things that we need to put together for it. But again, I don't want that to be a barrier in terms of execution.
But I think that little packet would be really great.
I hear you loud and clear.
Imagine the teacher's right there, the words are right there.
Yeah, it looks so great on the video too. So yeah, email me those things and we'll put the list together.
Just want to point this out, so in each packet, and for the red kit, oh, you brought it, yeah, thanks. In the packet, there's a technology packet, so the DVD that you watched today that has the lessons, it's in here, as well as the printable materials. For the red material, they actually have some of their stuff online. So you just have to put in the appropriate number to get access to it, but the later materials that were developed later, the red, purple, and gold packets, those all have their technology kits online. The rest of us have these ones, okay? What's not online are those lesson guides. All the supplemental materials are on here, but those lesson guides you have to photocopy together, okay? So those are the materials. What we'd like to give you a chance to do is actually get a chance to look at the lessons themselves. So on your tables, there are several piles of materials. So some of you have the folders. There are both odd and even lessons there, as well as the lesson copies of those lesson guides. If you don't have copies, you have the actual lesson guide. What we'd like to give you, before you start, what we'd like to give you a chance to do, oops, I forgot the temperature check. Sorry, let's do this first, because this is going to be helpful, and I know my 6 to 8 week folks, I'm going to come back to you guys. But how are you feeling so far about this idea of LLI in your school, in your classroom, or after school, depending on where you might be? I need you to hold your head if you're overwhelmed. I need you to place your hand over your heart if you're okay, but you still need some time to process. And then if you're feeling really good about this, if you have a problem, go ahead and pop it. What about all three? All three, in some way, okay? All right. Okay, good. So we're actually in a good place. We're in a good place, Mr. Abella. We're in a good place. Okay, here we go. So what I'd like you to do is you are going to, with partner, plan through as much as you can of an odd and an even lesson using the materials that are in front of you. If you have a paper copy of the lesson, what we would suggest is that you kind of go through it and mark it up. Highlight or underline the things that you think you're going to use and make notes, because this becomes your lesson plan versus you typing all of this up somewhere else. Okay? So there's a couple copies there for everybody to kind of co-plan together, but go through the materials, go through the lesson, read through all of the things and see how much you are given in order to do this lesson successfully. Okay? And with that partner, try to plan through both even and odd lessons as much as you can so you can see both of the parts. For my 6 to 8 folks, use the lesson suggestion of the way that we break it up in order for you to kind of see what you're planning for what day. Okay? And I'll come back and sit with you guys. But take some time now to read through the lesson plan itself and see what you have. The other thing you have on your table are examples of the supplemental materials. So it's the word cards, the letters to parents, which are both in English and Spanish, the running record guide. So each running record that you do on even days, there's a printout for that. So take a look at all the supplemental materials and take about 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes to plan. 15. Unless you want to stay a little later. General questions or reactions about using LLI and kind of digging into the lesson itself and the materials that are provided?
My question is probably for him.
Okay.
I know that you have collected, I almost said confiscated, the teaching lesson guides.
Yes.
And I know they're in the resource room, but is there any way to rent like the book so that we can go through and like, instead of maybe photocopies of all the ones we might use?
Yes. So here's what we're going to do. So a couple questions around resources and where they're going to be. So right now, goal number 1 was to make sure that these were accessible to everyone, right? So we collected all of the LLI kits around the school, and they're everywhere, and we put them in this resource room right here, right? Now, keep in mind, some of the boxes look like this right now, where the books are still like in packages, right? And they're not in their lesson folders. Ideally, we want them to look like this right here, where you know lesson 2, right? All the books, right? So part of this with new LLI kits is we're gonna have to take time to actually organize it, right? What we don't want is for people to start tearing through those books and to take them around without having them organized. So one of the priorities we're gonna have is to actually organize them in a way where people can go in there, grab lesson 2 out, and go at it. Right now, in terms of the lesson guides, these are the lesson guides that Ms. Metzger is referring to. There's one lesson guide. There's 2 volumes, just given the number of lessons per kit, right? So there's volume 1, volume 2 for green. They only give 1 lesson guide, which are obviously very, very important, per big kit, right? And that doesn't necessarily help us out if people need lesson guides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy more of the lesson guides so that each classroom should have at least the one that applies closest to your grade level, right? Now, if that doesn't work, right, one of the reasons why this is right next to the teacher resource room, for now, just because we only have like 1 or 2 of these, we don't want to bring this up to the classroom because other people need to access them. For now, make copies of the lessons that you need so other people can access the materials, right? It's an access issue. You want everybody to have access to it. So I'm going to order these. That might take some time, but you guys will have those to make it more convenient for you guys.
I will help you, put labels on the books.
I hope more people help. The more people we have attacking this thing, the better off we'll be.
That's actually something I think I could be successful at.
I'm not going to respond to that. But that being said, right, we want to make sure that this is a heavy investment, as I mentioned, right? Not only that, but it's something that we want to be able to utilize appropriately. So the organization of the materials is just critical, right? So we're going to spend the time to organize it. I was very mindful about not even putting them in there until we had this PD because I want to make sure we're using them appropriately.
And is that door gonna be locked?
No, it will be open. Yeah, the door will be open. So ideally, these boxes will be laid out, right? You guys will be able to go in there, make copies from the lesson guides right now, right? Leave the lesson guides in there. You guys take the books out. Now, here's the thing. In the past, I've had checkout systems where teachers go in there and write down which lesson they've taken, right? None of the checkout systems have worked, right? Because teachers just don't actually check them out. They just take the books and move on, right? So here's the deal, right? It's an integrity system, right? I'm not going to have a checkout system because they just generally aren't successful. But what we have to make sure that we're doing is that when we check out the books, when we take the books for a lesson, we return them at the end of the day, right? We've got to make sure that we take care of these resources, and we've got to make sure that they're there. So we're just trusting you guys. So take the books that you need for that day. If you need multiple lessons based on the groups you've seen, that's okay, right? Fortunately, we have multiple of each kit. Now that doesn't mean hold on to them for a week, right? That doesn't mean hold on to them for a long period of time. But take the books that you need, right? And then bring them back to the resource room at the end of the day. If you walk in here right now, you'll actually see all of the boxes lined up by box order. So it's already lined up, okay? The other thing that I'll mention, and Rosemary brought up a great point. So ideally, how many people are we targeting for our groups?
3 to 6.
3 to 6. Generally, and I'll be very honest, I never want to see 3 kids in a group because we should be able to get at least 4 in a group, right? Now, the only time we should see a low number is when it's students that need, obviously, intense intervention, and we need to focus on it a little bit more, right? With that being said, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, there aren't actually 6 colored books in each lesson.
No, there's 5.
There's 5. Right? So, to that extent, keep in mind, if we give away those black and white books, we're not going to have enough for a group of 6. Right? And also keep in mind, if those books don't end up back in the lessons, it's going to impact us as a school, right? So we just have to take care of these, and we have to be able to return them at the end of the day. Okay?
Can I just, your checkout system, was it ever like put your name on a post-it and stick it inside the folder?
I like that. You want to do that?
I think if you just had some post-its there, you write your name on it, stick it on there, then if someone needs that book, they can come looking for it.
I love that idea. Let's try that, right? I mean, and again, the only way it's going to work is if we're 100% committed to doing that, and I think it sounds simple enough. So we'll keep a stack of Post-its and have very clear directions on the table right there. So just literally write your name. That's all you got to do and drop it in the folder, right? Simple enough?
I can do it.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, me too.
We can do that. So again, everybody good on that? Cool. Now for now, keep in mind, some of the boxes aren't organized yet. Our goal is to organize them. Until they're organized. We should have at least one colored box that's organized, or one box that's organized for each colored set. Until that's organized, please don't tear open the packages and just take the resources, because then it's going to be very difficult to organize them. Okay? Any other questions on that? You guys have any other thoughts on that?
Is there an expectation for when they should get started? Because maybe that buys you time to
Yeah, so
organize.
here's the thing. There's a lot of people are up and running with LLI already, right? Miss Ross, she's not here today. She's going to hate me because I took a lot of kids from her room. But her and Mr. Phillips are using it every single day, right? They're running with it, right? So I'm going to let her know that we borrowed the kits and put them down here, right? But the expectation is if she's using it already. So she's running with it. If you guys are feeling prepared to utilize this in your small group instruction, feel free to begin that as soon as tomorrow. But use the sets that are complete already. There's at least one complete set for each color again.
And tomorrow when I come in, I'll grab the 2 that are in my room.
Perfect.
There's 2
We'll have
boxes.
someone do that for you.
Oh, okay.
We'll have someone do that for you. In terms of hard expectations right now in terms of, start tomorrow. We're going to discuss that in grade level meetings next week. Okay, but I just wanted you guys to have access to understand how to use it, more importantly, and just to understand what times throughout the year we're going to be able to utilize it.
Can we give a quick breakdown just of which color is which grade they get?
Yeah, so orange kit is A through C, reading levels A through C. Green kit is colors A through N. Is that right? A through J, I apologize. Green is A through J. Blue kit is, blue kit started at C.
I got it, I wrote it down. But she's gonna take a picture, she said.
You're gonna dig it out right now, guys.
So then, how do you choose which one to start with, though, I guess is my question.
You need to figure out what your lowest groups are.
Well, what if you have a kid who's at a
different levels.
F? Well, then that could be
Versus like
3 boxes, different boxes.
right?
Oh.
Boxes.
You choose a blue box, I think, for third grade.
Oh, I'm sorry, real quick. That's a good question, so I want to make sure everybody hears this. So you said, what if they're an F and they apply to 3 different colors, right?
They could be then in green or blue.
Yeah, so typically for higher grade levels, so for third grade, for example, I would always go with the higher box.
In case
Because
they...
generally, they create those books based on interest level and based on grade level, right? So I wouldn't go, if they're at a C, I would always go green kit, not orange kit, right? You're gonna see some similarities, but always go up rather than down, right? We did order 6th through 8th grade, this is important for you guys. We did order the gold kit. The gold kit is, there you go, O through T, right? Generally, I did not order the purple kit, that's something we can explore later on. But generally, we want to target our guiding reading groups for students below a T, right? So that's why we purchased the gold kit. It's also very helpful for those older kids. Any other questions here? Awesome. Can we do the head, heart, whatever it was? I don't know what was that. Pop your collar. Can we get that real quick? I just want to get a pulse on how everybody's feeling about this. Okay. Okay. Cool. Collar. So here's the deal, guys. The most comfortable way to use this, or the most comfortable way to get your collar popped here, is by actually digging in and practicing. Right? You're not going to get comfortable unless you practice. So here is one goal. Right? While there's no firm expectation today on when you use this, try to actually implement a lesson or 2 by the end of next week. Right? Make that a goal. Right? Make that a goal if possible. Right? If you're currently doing small groups, make that a goal. Okay? At least that will give you a sense of like how is this going to work, how is this functioning, gives you practice around those things. Is that scary?
Is this something you want me to do? Or
let's have an offline conversation. Any other questions? Guys, thank you, appreciate it. Can we give Claudine and Rosemary you're facilitating all our literacy PDs.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Taylor and Mr. Winslow are still here. Mr. Taylor, Mr. Winslow, folks are coming out right now.